Hello, my name is Flora and our guest today needs no introduction. He is India's most renowned mythologist, speaker, author and illustrator, Dr. Devdutt Pattanaik. So Dr. Pattanaik, welcome to Odisha. Not that you need welcoming, this is your home. On behalf of Kanak News, I would like to welcome you to our show. And the first question that I want to ask when I was doing research on you is you are basically an MBBS degree holding doctor.
Yes.
And from medicine to mythology, I really want to know all about your journey.
It is not from medicine to mythology.
Okay.
It is a two-lane highway.
Okay.
Both of them are together.
Okay.
So mythology was my hobby, and mythology and medicine was my vocation. I used to study medicine. Then I worked in a pharma company. That is something I did from Monday to Friday. But in my free time, I would read Ramayana, Mahabharata for my hobby. So it was just a hobby. And then over time, I realized I was reading more than scholars. I knew more than other people. And it just became larger and larger and larger. And over time, that two-lane highway became one-lane highway. And then medicine stopped somewhere along the way. About 10 years, now 14 years ago, I went full-time into mythology because it became commercial. So it became easy.
Right. So the name Devdutt Pattanaik is basically synonymous to making mythology relatable. And, in simple terms, you make it so connecting. But most important thing is your interpretation of all the stories and all the tales to leadership, management skills, management studies. How did you draw this parallelism?
See, mythology is basically stories are used by people to explain ideas.
Right.
And around the world, not just in India, everywhere, in every culture, how do you make sense of life? How do you decide who should be king? How do you decide who should be a bureaucrat?
Right.
How do you decide how did the world begin? Where will we go? What happens after death?
Right.
There is not even a scientist can give you. The best scientist in the world cannot tell you what happens after death. So then you need an explanation.
Correct.
You will go to a story. Where else will you go? So stories are, mythos, the word mythos is a Greek word for story.
Right.
So you tell a story, so if somebody says there is God, I can't prove he exists, but I believe there is God.
Right.
So story of whether it is justice. There is no justice in the world, but we believe justice exists.
Right.
So these are mythos. That is what it is. So once you understand the basics, then you understand that Veda, Purana, Ramayana, Mahabharata, that's Indians. But even whether it's the Bible, the Quran, these are all narratives which help make sense of life. Otherwise, you'll go mad. As human beings, we need something, like a scaffold, a structure to live our lives. So stories help us do that. We don't realize it. It's very unconscious.
Right.
I'm making it aware. I'm making people aware of it. People have not studied this subject in our country.
Right.
But it's common knowledge in the academic world.
Talking about leadership and narratives that you said, what are the pertinent lessons that we can derive out of mythology, especially relating to conflict resolution in the face of the ongoing Russo-Ukrainian war?
So see, in Sanskrit there's a word called Matsya Nyaya. Matsya Nyaya means jungle law. So Sanskrit word for jungle law is Matsya Nyaya. Matsya Nyaya is fish justice. So where the big fish will eat the small fish. So Russia is a big fish. It is saying I can eat the small fish.
Right.
When humans behave like animals, it is called adharma.
Right.
What is dharma then? Where the big fish takes care of the small fish.
Right.
Right. So now look at Ramayana. This is Odia translation of my book Ramayana. Here is a young lady who is saying, oh, there's a hungry man. Usko bhook laga hai. He is not eaten. So, so se kochi ki tanku kichi khaiba ko dabi. So I'm giving some food.
Right.
And that man takes advantage of her and abducts her. And he's a big man. He has 10 hands, 10 heads, 20 heads. He's a Vedic scholar. So he is powerful. He's taking advantage of someone who is weaker than him. That is not dharma.
Right.
Because dharma is when you're strong, you should take care of the weak.
Right.
Or dharma is when the weak are abused and exploited. In the Mahabharata, you have Pandavas and Kauravas fighting. Pandavas are 5 orphans. Kauravas are 100 princes. They should share their kingdom. They don't want to share their kingdom.
Right.
Or dharma.
Right.
So That's all they're saying. That's a very simple idea. So Russia is behaving like a bully because it is big and it says, I can do anything. Tum kya karoge?
Yeah.
That is Matsya Nyaya.
Yeah.
And that is not civilized conduct. Civilized conduct is where you help people. That's what Ramayana Mahabharata is saying. That's what is happening around the world. Do you help or do you hurt people? That's a simple way of understanding dharma.
Right. Talking about justice and talking about the conflict resolution that you just spoke about, I also, during my research, I saw that there were surveys and surveys which said that the current generation is the least religious right now. And because you are known as a man who has, who talks of mythology not in terms of religion or spiritualism, but mostly in terms of vocabulary. How would you explain mythology or spiritualism to a generation which is least religious currently?
See, we have to ask ourselves, what do we mean by least religious? What does religion mean?
Right.
Does it mean believing supernatural things? The current generation doesn't believe in supernatural things.
Right.
But they get nervous, right? You just switch off the internet for one day and they get insecure. They get depressed.
Yeah.
So human beings, they experience insecurity, they are hungry, they are jealous, they are frightened, they are proud. These emotions are there. Wherever these emotions exist, you need mythology. So these children also have those emotions. They also don't want to be abused. They also are talking about consent. So Seetha's story is about consent. Right? She is saying that you can't abduct me and whatever the reason, you can't abduct a...
Just because I was kind to you.
Kind to you. Or Surpanakha coming to Ram and saying that I want to, have relations with you. And he says no. So it's male consent also. Female's consent also. So when I want to teach consent, here Ramayana 2,500 years ago. You want to talk about, women cannot be gambled. But here you have the Pandavas gambling their wife as if she's property. Disrespect. Disrespect has nothing to do with religion. It's just being civilized. So I don't need religion to explain Ramayana Mahabharata. I can explain with consent, bullying, respect. These are values which all human beings and all civilized people should have. So Ramayana Mahabharata jo padithile, it's just basic sanskar. Culture.
The basic moral code of conduct.
What makes you a cultured person? What makes you a civilized person? That has nothing to do with religion. It has nothing to do with internet. It has nothing to do with millennials. Every generation, we want children to be civilized.
Talking about Odia mythology in particular, I want to know what separates us, Odia mythology particularly, from the rest.
So the unique thing about Odia mythology is Jagannath temple. That's the big thing. So I keep explaining to people that Jagannath is the identity of Odisha. Everything in Odisha happens through Jagannath. For hundreds of years. It has been happening for recorded history of at least 1,000 years, maybe before that. But we know for 1,000 years, the temple has been the center of everything. The kings, the political powers, everything depends on Jagannath. This will not be understood in Bengal. This will not be understood in Andhra Pradesh. Maharashtra people will not understand this. So Jagannath plays a very important role. Then we don't realize that local versions of Ramayana and Mahabharata exist. Balram Das wrote the Ramayana in Odia. Then Sarala Das wrote the Mahabharata in Odia. Now when was this done? This was done in the 14th century. This was done in the 15th century. People don't know this, but 14th, 15th century, some of the earliest regional Ramayana Mahabharata has been written by Odiyas. And that's Odia mythology. So then there is stories of Topoi. These are Vrata Kathas which are done, Manavasa. Those
our traditions basically revolve around.
In Bhubaneswar, there's Chausashti Yogini temple, which nobody knows. They come to Bhubaneswar, and all my friends now, I say that when you go to Bhubaneswar, just 5 kilometers away, there is Hirapur, and there you can see the Chausashti Yogini temple. And you will never see such a structure anywhere in the world. That there are 64 women in a circle, there is no roof to the temple, there are no men around. I said it's a temple of women.
It's a temple of women,
and they're doing all kinds of strange things. They're dancing, they're singing, they're wild, they're hunting, they are cooking, they are dancing. So it's a very different temple of yoginis. So that is Odia mythology again.
Talking about Balram Das's Ramayana that you mentioned, you were the one who first proclaimed that the story of Sabari is actually from Odisha.
Yes.
And I want to know that, because this is a big thing, it's a very proud thing for us. And I want to know that how did this story get lost in the process? As in, where did we forget to mention that, you know?
So what happens is people don't know the details. In Valmiki Ramayana, we know there is a character called Shabri who meets Ram, but there is no bear, Shabri ke bear.
Yeah.
So that is the story. Nowadays when we say Shabri, we think of Shabri ke bear.
Yeah.
And this Borokoli and Shabri and that. But this story comes to us in the 18th century from Bhakti Mala Hindi poetry.
Okay.
It is not even there in Tulsi Ramayana.
Okay.
So it is coming from a 17th century and it's a popular story.
Yeah.
But where did the story of eating come from? Where is this Shabari? And you trace it and you find it in Balram Das's Ramayana, where there is reference to a Sabara Kanya, and she is bringing not berries but mangoes. And she is giving Ram mangoes, and some mangoes are full fruit and some are eaten. So she is not giving him the eaten mangoes. She says, and Ram says, no, I want to eat those mangoes because that is obviously sweeter.
Oh.
And she is giving it to him. So it is not borokoli, it is the mango, ambo.
Ah.
So this story, Sabara Kanya, has become Shavari, then Sabari, Borkoli. So it's a Loka Parampara, but obviously has a very strong. Also, there are practices in the Jagannath Puri temple with, where people are giving food and fruits to the gods. The tribal people would give fruits to the gods, foods to the gods.
Yes,
so this
as
is,
offerings.
So this becomes then Sabara Phala. So the jungle fruits which were usually.
Right.
So perhaps Ramayana is influenced by these practices from the Jagannath temple.
Right.
At least some influences there, which then becomes a very full-fledged story. But we don't recognize the contribution of Odia to national literature. So,
Right.
you know, I always say Odisha is eclipsed by...
Very much eclipsed.
So, you'll know Hindi, people think there is no language other than Hindi.
Yeah.
Then the South Indians will only talk of South India.
Yeah.
East is only Bengal.
Yeah.
So then Odisha gets lost, and these kind of beautiful jewels are forgotten.
Right. And talking about Odisha, I know that the narratives shape, the local narratives shape collective consciousness. And for a fact, Odisha is, I think, one of the most non-communal states in the country. Do you think our mythology has anything to do with it?
See, it's a very funny thing that you ask. You see, Jagannath temple was attacked several times. That's a very famous thing. We know that it was attacked. Kala Pahadar story is very famous. There are the stories of Mughals attacking and lots of... The temple has been attacked many times.
Yes.
But yet there is no animosity in this state against Muslims.
No, there isn't.
It's just, it was a bad thing. It should not have happened. But you move on. Now that is the unique thing of Odisha. It has the largest Hindu temple which was attacked. Everybody remembers Somnath.
Yes.
They talk about how Somnath was destroyed. It is a temple which was destroyed.
Yes.
And we remember a temple which was destroyed. Yeah. We don't want to remember a temple which survived. Jagannath is a temple which survived, which has resilience, which is strength. So look at the mindset. We like the loser mindset. Now we say India is great, okay, but look at the survivor. No, why are you looking at the one who couldn't survive?
Yeah.
But if you talk to all people who talk about, oh, Mughals came to India.
The invasions.
And they're always talking about, they're always talking about the temple which was destroyed. They never talk about the temple which survived. And for me, that is why growth is not happening, vriddhi is not happening, success is not happening. Yeah. So success cannot happen when you don't talk about resilience, and that is what the Jagannath temple is all about. Right. And that is why the stories are, look at Odisha, there's no communal mindset over here, although the temple was destroyed. And you have this idea of the God who comes and goes. Jagannath Nabakale bara hue.
Yes.
So you can destroy him, but he'll come back.
Yeah.
He will himself die every few years. He will come back to life. So this idea of regeneration, recreation is heart of Odisha tradition. And I think somewhere subconsciously people are like, अच्छे दिन आएंगे जाएंगे, बुरे दिन आएंगे जाएंगे. Nothing is permanent.
Right.
Be calm, composed, enjoy life, enjoy the Mahaprasad, enjoy the food. Okay, we'll figure out a solution. Chill, basically.
Basically chill.
So look at Jagannath, he goes on Chandan Yatra, he does Dola Purnima, he sits on a swing, he is on a boat.
He's very chilled out.
He's very chilled out, he's enjoying life, he goes on chariot rides. So he's basically cruising through the city,
Yeah.
he's enjoying himself. So this is the good part of life. Food is being cooked, dance is happening. There was Devadasis at one time,
Yeah.
singing and dancing. They have been wiped out. We don't realize that this is a temple which enjoys life.
Exactly.
It is about Rangabhumi.
Yeah.
It is joyful life.
Yeah.
That puts positive energy. If you're always talking about temples which are broken, 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 you'll always be crying, crying, crying.
Yeah.
This is a God who is always smiling.
Yeah.
See Jagannath's face, he's always smiling.
He's always smiling, right?
So a smiling God will create happy country. Crying
Right.
politicians will create unhappy countries.
And obviously he's a survivor also.
He's a survivor.
yeah.
So he's happily surviving.
Yeah.
So that is something that people don't realize. Jagannath temple is a temple of survivors.
Yeah.
So when people talk of Somnath, I said, वो तो टूट गया है. ये तो जीवित है और जीवित पुनर्जीवित है और पुनर्जीवित होता रहता है. It survived. It, one king said, "I'll build Meghnad Pachri, I'll do Kurmo Pachri." Somebody said, "I will create new methods of survival."
Right.
So that is what makes you great. What is called anti-fragile.
Anti-fragile.
In corporate world, we call it anti-fragile.
Yes,
So
yes,
Jagannath
we do.
is anti-fragile.
Anti-fragile. I think this should be caption material. Jagannath is anti-fragile.
Absolutely.
And Women's Day is around the corner, and I have to ask you, because your books are all, not all, but most of them have this strong perception and interpretation of female characters. Who, according to you, is the most iconic female character in all of the mythologies that you have studied?
Seetha, always. People don't realize that Seetha is quiet and Draupadi always screams.
Yeah.
And all the people, I have heard young girls saying, I like Draupadi because she shouts and screams. I said,
She asks for herself.
self, and in the end she takes her revenge, because we love revenge stories कि
Yeah.
अपना बाल खून से धो लिया उसने.
Yeah.
I said at the end of the war her children die. Seetha's children become kings.
You are ruthless when it comes to interpretation.
Raj Dharma. She is a princess. Seetha is very clear. My children will be the kings of Ayodhya. She's quiet. She goes under the earth. She says, I'll not return, but my children will rule Ayodhya. Draupadi, when she falls, doesn't go to heaven, and her children are dead. You got your revenge, but. So you're doing short-term thinking or long-term thinking? So what is a smart person? Short-term or long-term? Seetha is Janakaputri. She is wise.
She's learned statesmanship
She
from
says
her
that
father, yeah.
in life you don't get everything, but she makes sure her children are kings. She never makes them hate her husband. She teaches them the Ramayana. She tells Valmiki, teach them the Ramayana. She respects her husband, says, I don't agree with what you have done, but well, that's your choice. I have making my choice. I won't return to Ayodhya. She takes 5 decisions. It's her choice. So here is an independent woman. She's not controlled by her emotions. I want revenge, I want revenge, I want war. That's what Draupadi wants, revenge, war. And in that war, her children die.
Right.
So, you got your revenge,
Yes.
but you lost your babies.
Yes.
Seetha silently suffered, but remained independent, autonomous, and her children became kings. Now you choose. Which icon do you want?
Long term or short term?
Because revenge is sweet, right?
Yeah.
But
It doesn't get you.
at the end of the day, after you have combed your hair and tied your hair, the children are not with you.
Yeah, it doesn't help you basically reach your bottom line.
So you got your little kick.
Right. So, talking about the books, because this trip to Odisha has brought you here for your books, I would like you to shed some light on them, please.
So these are basically the Ramayana and Mahabharata. Everybody tells me Ramayana is very complicated and Ramayana is very simple, Mahabharata is very complicated. And I said, okay, I'll put both the books in the same size. So
Right.
you'll realize.
Oh, yeah.
So it is not the same story, very simply told.
Yeah.
This is a story of 5 choices. 5 choices of woman makes. Sitanko Pacha Ichha. 5 wishes that she makes.
Okay.
It's her decisions. Some work, some don't work. Not all decisions work in life. All choices don't work. All wishes are not fulfilled.
Right.
She wants to give Ravan food. She doesn't realize that he's Ravan. It's her wish.
Right.
She could have said no. Kiyas no, mudai paribini.
Yeah.
She could have said, no, I have been told not to give food to strangers, I will not give it to you. She gives food. So, but it doesn't work in her favor. So sometimes choice doesn't work in your favor.
Yeah.
So it's a woman of choice, woman of substance. This is a story of 5 boys who are fighting.
5 boys who are fighting.
Which is what Pandavas are, 5 boys who fight. And they
Yeah.
fight 6 battles. But we don't see the Mahabharata as a series of battles. 6 battles are fought. So I'm making people aware, very simple way of remembering. 5 choices, 6 battles. And that is how you remember. You see, look at these pictures. You'll remember, you look at this photograph, you'll say, oh, this is a bow. So if this is a bow, that it is Arjun. The Arjun symbol is a monkey. So there's a monkey over here. So my books are fully illustrated. So if you want to see, so I said, how will I show the 100 Kauravas? So I do the emojis.
Oh, nice. That's really cool. That's really
so
cool.
that is the 100 Kauravas. There you do. So now the children will understand. Now how do you understand? Now if you look carefully, over here D1 is written. D1 is Duryodhan, his tattoo.
Oh.
So Dushastan is D2. So 100 Kauravas have D99, D100.
These illustrations have been done by you?
Yeah, these are my illustrations.
Yeah, because illustrator is also one of the tags that you have.
See, this is just the Bhagavad Gita in just 2 pages. Here is Krishna, here is Arjun, here are the 100 Kauravas. And that is the Gita.
Lined on one side.
And that's it. So you want to teach children Gita, just this 1 page you can discuss with them.
Right.
So it is, how do you make it simple? So this is
the wedding.
Wedding and how the eyes, he struck the eyes. So that is what we are trying to do in the story. So the illustrations so that people can illustrate them. We have got these, the whole point is how do you make it accessible to children? So this is the Ekalabhyara story. So all the stories are there in this little book.
Yeah.
And then you
compiled into one.
Or you look at just Seetha's story and it is, very, very stark images. So you can look at this picture and know Dhobbi Goji.
Oh, the gossip.
Gossip. कि देखो ये दागो भारी बनी.
ये दाग नहीं छूटेगा.
ये दाग नहीं छूटेगा. Gossip.
Yeah.
So this is Ahalya. So then you just draw simple stories without making it difficult. And we have, I don't know if Odia, it is a very famous story of Ravana Chaya.
Yes.
This is the shadow of Ravana.
Yes.
This is Ravana Chaya. So
it's one of the, not lost per se, but folk
versions of it. So you tell the story in this way. So people enjoy these stories and they make it, so this is Jambu Dweep. We kill Jambu Dweep, so Jambu bhada dusuchi.
Yeah.
Jambu phada bhada.
Yeah.
So then you have got, so you try to make it fun, accessible. See, this is Seetha being born from the earth. So she's from inside the earth. So the whole idea is to how do you make it accessible, but don't frighten people. Ki Ramayana Mahabharata bhut na samajh easily padi pariye. And read it, remember it, discuss it, make it part of school curriculum. Just enjoy it and without making it, it's religious.
So how was it basically for you as a young Odia boy in Bombay, growing up in the city of, a city that never sleeps, a city of dreams?
So you see, the thing is that at home we only spoke Odia. So I speak Odia privately. I can't speak in public forums, but with my sisters and all, we only speak Odia.
Right.
And we ate pokhada. So Odisha was inside our home, in the language, in the food we ate, newspapers that would come to my father would subscribe to newspapers which would come to us. So I'm used to seeing, my mother would do Kartik Masa or all that.
Serious?
Yeah, so I'm used to all this khadchai. Chadkai.
Yeah.
So it's a big joke in my family that, chadkai, my mother will want to eat fish on that day or something. And so these things, I've grown up with these things. Jagannath culture is part of us. I just recently, in my house, my mother used to use a word called Makhondi.
Okay.
And Makhondi is a word which we grew up with. And I thought it is an Odia word. And I asked people in Odisha, they said, we have never heard it. And then we figured it out that it is a word which is used only in some parts of Kanak. And since my mother was born in Kanak, she carried that word with her to Bombay, which I and my sisters understand perfectly, that Makhondi, if somebody is very over smart and trying to be show off or trying to be very cool, my mother says Makhondi. So now, and I suddenly realized that my other Odia friends don't know this word.
Yeah.
But it is coming from one small part of Kanak, traveling all the way to Bombay, being spoken by these 3 brothers, my 2 sisters and me.
Yeah.
And my nephews know this word, but it's from one little part of Kanak, this word has traveled. So that's how cultures travel.
Right. And talking about Lord Jagannath, he features predominantly in your conversations, and he is the center of the universe for all Odiyas. Please tell me you are writing some book on him, some interpretation, some illustration. What are you working on
So
next?
we are compiling essays. I have been writing on him in my regular columns in Times of India, Economic Times, and I think some of them were translated in Dharitri. But we are trying to compile them and then also get them translated and publish them. So this publisher, Pen and Books, has kindly decided to put them together in a simple way, the English verse and the Odia translations, and hopefully by Jagannath Rath Yatra we will release it. It's on Odisha.
This year?
Hopefully, let's see.
Hopefully.
Hopefully everything goes well.
Yeah.
We will release it, and basically it will be on Jagannath's tales of Odisha, Topoi, Kanchi, Vijaya. So these kind of stories.
Vijan, yeah.
So these are the stories that people have heard, and most people in the world may not be familiar with it. So if you want to know Odisha, you can just pick up this book. Easy book, not a very academic book, which is trying to regular people can enjoy it.
Thank you so much, Dr. Pattanaik, for your time, and I hope our viewers enjoy the
I
conversation.
hope they read the book and buy the book and share the
I
book
hope
with
so too.
everybody. It's an Odia translation, very well done, with
Yeah.
illustrations.
Thank you
Thank you so
so
much.
much.